but they're not necessarily a better deal for you. So don't just jump onto a high yield savings account because you think you're getting a good deal because of inflation. Unlike checking accounts, high yield savings accounts may not come with the check writing capabilities or debit cards that you're typically used to with other type of accounts. Be prepared for your high yield savings account. Be prepared for that account's rate to drop lower. If you've ever wondered about how to get on the opposite side of a debt spiral, buy bonds. You need to understand these 7 types of investment accounts before you spend a dime on any of your investments. When you're saving up money to invest in stocks, bonds, forex, crypto, etc., there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. A lot of people, when they're new to investing, tend to make the same mistake over and over again, which is fine when you're new, kind of. You need to learn from those mistakes, and that's why you're watching this channel. But when you need to get serious about your investing, and you're looking for a way to hold your money while you save up to make a big investment move, like $10,000 or more, you really should be thinking about how you're going to do that and what account you're putting that money into. Yeah, the account type. Have you ever really thought about which account type you're going to put your money in while you're waiting to make an investment move? When I say account type, I'm talking like checking account, savings account, etc. Why should I need to think about that, you ask? Can I just take my money out from one account and just buy crypto using Webull and all the other stuff? Well, yes, you can, but doing that leaves you vulnerable to everyone's favorite economic phenomenon, inflation. You see, you have a choice to make when you're looking to invest. You either lose money quickly or you lose money slowly when you're looking to save up for a big investment. And this next point is important. You're trying to put a big chunk down on a major investment, not invest in fractional shares or pieces of a coin or any other type of asset. You want to think about buying an entire Bitcoin or an ounce of gold or an investment property, something like that. And if you're not already independently wealthy and you have your saving habits down pat, you know your emergency fund is saved up, where do you put your money to make those big purchases? To save up to make those big purchases. That's what we're going to talk about in this video. So let's first take a look at the most common types of accounts to really get an understanding of why we should put our money where. The choice is between a savings account, a checking account, and a money market account. In your standard world where you're not necessarily concerned about finances and improving your finances, well, they really depend on your goals and the needs that are most important and the time frame when you're going to need the money. So for example, a checking account is designed for everyday transactions and easy access to your money. That said, keeping a bulk of your money in this type of account is generally going to be bad for you long term, because even in the best of times, minimal inflation, your money will be losing value rather quickly. But it has its upsides. For example, in its uses for daily expenses. Using a checking account to deposit your income and pay for your regular expenses like bills and groceries and entertainment is probably the best idea for your general user. Here's a pro tip for you though. You could be putting those expenses on a credit card, and you can then be paying off that credit card using a checking account or a high yield savings account. Just food for thought. And doing it that way, you can be building your credit to be able to afford major ticket items that you'll be able to purchase, thanks to the knowledge of the right types of accounts to put your money into. You're welcome. Another upside of checking accounts is debit cards. Enough said about those, right? Just allowing you to make purchases and withdraw cash from ATMs with minimal fees associated to it. And then of course there's online and mobile banking. Checking accounts often provide convenient online and mobile banking features such as bill payment, mobile check deposits, and person-to-person transfers, basically allowing your velocity of money to be relatively high. But there is a cost to that, a cost to you, in that you're going to lose money quicker thanks to inflation. And then of course there are savings accounts. For your standard everyday guy or gal, a savings account is a perfect place to put money away when you need to save for a bigger ticket item. And obviously, the higher the yield, the better. And the less quickly you need the money, the better as well. Savings accounts, high yield, etc. They're for putting your money away when you really want to stack up interest payments to yourself and you don't need the money as quickly as you would for everyday expenses. Good examples of when to put your money into a savings account would be an emergency fund. When your money is going to be set aside to cover unexpected expenses like medical bills or car repairs, you definitely want to keep that money in a savings account of some kind. Again, the higher the yield, the better. Short-term goals like a vacation or down payment on a house, savings accounts are perfect for accumulating funds while earning interest. Again, a pro tip, if you have short-term, big purchase and big ticket items that you're thinking about, putting them on a credit card and immediately paying them off and increasing your credit and locking in those credit points using the money that you save in your savings account is a great way to both build credit and build the muscles that you need for saving and investing. Different video for a different time, however. And then of course there's future expenses. If you're saving for a future expense such as college tuition or retirement, a savings account can be part of your overall saving strategy. I will say though, when you have future expenses that are generally going to be larger or you're really saving up for something big, savings accounts are probably not your best long-term savings/investment options. We'll go over the best options for that sort of thing a little bit later in the video. But an often overlooked type of account that very few people seem to talk about, and I'm not sure why, are money market accounts. Money market accounts combine features of both savings and checking accounts. They generally offer higher interest rates than regular savings accounts, and they provide limited check writing capabilities. They're probably more optimal for shorter term savings goals, but for folks that want to earn a slightly higher interest rate than a regular savings account. That credit card hack that I keep talking about, that might be a good option for a money market account. Some people choose money market accounts for their emergency funds. I'm not going to throw any shine at that. That's a pretty good idea too. And there are some situations in some banking institutions that offer tiered banking. That is to say, if you have a higher account balance in a money market account, just having that alone can provide additional benefits such as reduced fees or increased interest rates. I talked about savings accounts a little bit earlier. And obviously, the higher the yield, the better. High yield savings accounts, well, they're all the rage right now, particularly thanks to interest rates being high due to everyone's favorite economic phenomenon, inflation. Nevertheless, high yield savings accounts have always offered attractive interest rates compared to their traditional savings accounts, inflation or no inflation. But they also have some trade-offs that you should consider, like with anything. First things first, because interest rates and the yields that they deliver are much higher now than they were pre-inflation. That doesn't mean you're getting a better deal per se. You still might be losing out due to the difference between the yields now and the inflation rate now, and the yields then, and the inflation rates then. Kind of confusing, I know. Well, let me explain. If you're getting a 3% interest rate on a high yield savings account when inflation is about 2%, well, that is a better deal than getting an 8% yield when inflation is at 7% or higher. You're technically losing 1% more money in the second scenario. I say all that to say, those interest rates and those yields on those high yield savings accounts, they can seem attractive, but they're not necessarily a better deal for you. So don't just jump onto a high yield savings account because you think you're getting a good deal because of inflation. There are definitely other things to consider as well. For example, the higher minimum balance requirements. Some high yield savings accounts, they have higher minimum balance requirements than a regular savings account, and you may need to maintain a certain balance in the account to earn the advertised high interest rate, or to avoid monthly maintenance fees. Make sure to check the minimum balance requirements and assess whether you can meet them consistently. Of course, as the limited access to your funds, high yield savings accounts are designed for saving rather than frequent transactions. As a result, these accounts often have limitations on the number of withdrawals or transfers you can make within a specific period, typically month to month. Exceeding the allowed number of transactions may result in fees or the conversion of the account to a regular savings account. If you anticipate needing frequent access to your funds, you should probably consider the withdrawal restrictions associated with a high yield savings account. All this sort of points to lower flexibility. Unlike checking accounts, high yield savings accounts may not come with the check writing capabilities or debit cards that you're typically used to with other type of accounts. This means that there's just another level of complexity for accessing your money, such as transferring funds to another account, which you can then use for daily expenses and transactions. While it's usually not a hassle to transfer money, it's just another step that you need to be aware of. And of course, there's interest rate risks on your side. The interest rates offered by high yield savings accounts are subject to change over time, and these accounts tend to offer more competitive rates than traditional savings accounts, particularly when inflation is higher. So, if market conditions change, those rates could go lower. Imagine with me for a second that our good friend, I was gonna say Ben Bernanke, but it just shows how old I am. Our good friend, what's his name? Fed chairman. Can't recall his name right now. Man, not great for a video, huh? Donnie Deutsch? No. What's the guy's name? Jerome Powell. So if our good friend Jerome Powell in his crusade to pull money out of the economy after he pumped money into the economy, if that works and he's able to get the inflation rate down to 2%, be prepared for your high yield savings account. Based on the stipulations laid out when you sign into the account, the fine print that you typically skip over when you're signing into anything, be prepared for that account's rate to drop lower. Let's talk about alternative investment opportunities that are offered with other types of accounts. Now, high yield savings accounts, they offer better interest rates than regular savings accounts. That said though, they may not provide the same level of growth potential as other investment options such as stocks or bonds. Now, if your goal is long-term wealth accumulation or beating inflation, you may need to consider other investment vehicles beyond high yield savings accounts. A typical account that folks would get into with this kind of mindset is a brokerage account. They're designed specifically for investment purposes. By opening a brokerage account, you can deposit your savings and have access to a wide range of investment options, including bonds. With brokerage accounts, you have the access to choose various types of bonds, such as government bonds, corporate bonds, municipal bonds, based on your investment goals and risk tolerance. Bonds are a type of loan that you issue to someone else. So if you've ever wondered about how to get on the opposite side of a debt spiral, then buying bonds is the thing for you. Buy bonds. Now, obviously, there's risk associated with bonds, more risk associated than simply getting into a high yield savings account or a CD. Welcome to the world of lending money to folks. You see, when credit cards and banks, when they're looking at your credit score and trying to determine if you're a worthy borrower, that's the sort of due diligence you have to navigate when you're in the bond purchasing market. So welcome, have a good time. But brokerage accounts, they do have some minor tax advantages when it comes to investing. I could create an entire video on the tax advantages that come from these sorts of accounts, but generally speaking, they provide a minor tax shelter for when you experience capital gains. And that really depends on the holding period of the investment within that account. So there's long-term capital gains if you hold the investment for more than 1 year before you sell. Again, depending on your specific situation, you may qualify for long-term capital gains tax rates, which are generally lower than your ordinary income tax rates. Then again, if you have short-term capital gains and you sell the investment that you've had for 1 year or less, the resulting gains are considered short-term and are typically taxed at your regular income tax rate. If, for example, you haven't been following the advice on this channel and you bought high and you sold low, well, you have a loss that you now can use for tax loss harvesting. You see, you can offset capital gains with capital losses. And if you have an investment that has declined in value, you can then sell that investment to realize the loss. All this within a brokerage account. Now, again, there are specific rules for specific situations, and you definitely should consult your CPA or financial planner, somebody who's not a guy on YouTube just talking about the specific thing, to really dial in to your specific situation to realize whether or not you qualify. Remember, this channel is for entertainment purposes only and to inform you about your possibilities. One of the benefits of brokerage accounts, however, is that unlike retirement accounts, which we'll go over in a second, brokerage accounts do not have restrictions on when you can withdraw funds or contribute additional money. They're generally unlimited in that sense, and this flexibility allows you to time your investment and withdrawals strategically to potentially optimize your tax situation. And that alone is a reason to get into brokerage accounts. Following that, you have tax advantaged accounts. We're talking about 401ks, IRAs. Starting with a 401k. 401ks are a great way to invest money pre-tax, particularly if you're not a self-employed individual and you're working for a company of some kind, where the money that you're putting into your 401k is matched by your employer. That's called, in the real world, free money. And if you time it just right, you can maximize the amount of money that you invest, paying as little tax as possible. Quick example for you. If you put money into a tax advantaged account like a 401k, and your employer matches that money up to a certain percentage, let's say 4%, and you do that consistently, that money is allowed to grow tax-free until your retirement age, when you can take that money out. And when you retire, if you time it just right, and if you understand minimum distributions and things of that nature, you can pull the money out, paying as little tax as humanly possible. Your specific situation is going to determine exactly what that looks like. It's a similar scenario with IRAs, particularly Roth IRAs, with after-tax dollars. And when you take it out, your money is not taxed again. Keeping in mind, your personal situation is definitely going to determine the specifics. Both types of tax advantage accounts have their pluses and they have their minuses. 401ks are pretty awesome in that anybody can have them no matter what the size of their income is. IRAs are limited to folks under a certain yearly threshold in their annual income. 401ks grow tax-free. When you pull the money out of retirement, you are then taxed at your individual tax bracket rate, depending on your minimum distributions and things of that nature. IRAs, the money's already been taxed. When you pull the money out after retirement, that money should be tax-free. And then there are other accounts. When I say other accounts, they're accounts that you use to invest for specific purposes. For example, health savings accounts, educational accounts, kids investments accounts. You can think of them in a lot of cases as Roth IRAs with specific investment goals. For example, health savings accounts are for your families and your health and saving and investing for that purpose. Educational accounts are for the education of your little ones, your young kids, if you have any. And depending on the account type, it can include investing in primary, secondary, and college education, and in some cases, even for student loan repayment. And for kids' investment accounts, it's really about getting a vehicle for investing with your young children so that in the future, they have something that they can continue to invest in as they grow older. Those are the 7 types of accounts that you need to think about before you invest a dime. If you'd like to learn more about unheard of advice for 401ks, take a look at the video on the screen right now. And remember, a goal without a plan is a wish. A goal with a plan and no action is a wish list. Like, subscribe, click the notification bell, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.